Hey there, I'm Daniel. I'm the founder of Tiny Rig, and today we're going to walk you guys through this Hellcat swapped Gladiator that we just finished up. If you guys have seen our channel before, you may have seen another Hellcat swapped Gladiator. That's actually the same owner. That vehicle had a lot of performance issues with the motor swap, and so he ended up purchasing this vehicle directly from America's Most Wanted, which is the originator of doing that Hellcat swap, at least at high production levels. So new vehicle, we transferred over some of the components, definitely transferred over the camper, which we'll jump into, but we also did some bumpers and lighting on this vehicle, and we're gonna walk you guys through kind of all the fine details that I think you guys will find interesting. Front end of this truck, it already came to us highly modified, and we kind of just added to it. So the last vehicle he had, we'll put some photos up of it, but I think it was just again, his truck, not mine, but way more complex in terms of the amount of stuff that was on it. The lights that were chosen for it, just not the typical style of builds we do. So at the shop, we all like this one a lot better than the last one. We did some Baja Designs LP6s up front. We did those, and this is kind of like a typical formula for us now. We're doing a lot of white lights, and then we're doing the amber rock arts for him, whether it's the squadrons that are up there on his ditch lights or these LPs. We really like using these, and it gives the owner of the vehicle the ability to change between white or amber depending on conditions. But also the rock guard is gonna act as a rock guard and protect it. So he can switch from amber to white on there, and then these pop on and they're extremely firm. They're never gonna come off. They're designed for racing and to protect them. So just a couple of LP6s up front, aimed well. Whenever we do a light install for you guys, we do make sure that they're aimed properly for you. And those are connected to a switch system that I'll jump into in a second. But while we're here up in front, we have the squadrons I just mentioned. Those are Squadron Pros. Those are in a spot pattern. And we have those on some Baja Designs ditch light brackets, which that's our first time using them, and we really like them. They came out really clean. There's some isolators in there, just nice setup. I'm gonna pop the hood for you guys, because that's obviously gonna be fun to take a look at with the motor swap. But we'll be able to show you guys some of the wiring we did as well. All right, so aside from the motor swap, which again, America's Most Wanted already had that done for us, we added a switch controller, and then we replaced the stock battery. With the modifications to this vehicle, it actually makes fitting a battery a little more challenging, especially when you have the switch panel. So this is set for this location, which is relevant to the height of the battery. So we tried a different battery, full throttle, like you guys have seen in some of the other videos, which is great to do. However, the height of it made it more complicated. We found one that would work, but due to lead time stuff, we ended up just going with the factory battery. So that's all good there, but always, again, a good idea to replace a factory battery with something a little higher end. It's definitely not a place where Mopar is gonna be spending a lot of money to take care of customers. So always recommending switching that out. We've got the Bow switch that's on here, which is a really cool device that we've used in a couple builds. You know, I can't necessarily speak to the quality or longevity. Quality-wise, the components that are used seem to be of good quality. It's watertight. It's not super intrusive to the vehicle itself, and we'll show you guys kind of on the handle over there how you can control it. So cool setup, very functional. We've also got an ARB twin compressor that we have fused in here, and then we have the power running back to the back of the camper to power the Red Arc BCDC charging system. So up front here, you guys have heard me talk before, or if this is your first time watching, adding a short roof rack in front of any camper on a truck bed is gonna be a really good improvement on noise, but also fuel economy. I can't speak to specifics on fuel economy on a Gladiator, as I don't own one. However, what I can say is when we drove this over, you're definitely not hearing the wind noise from the camper. You've got a bunch of supercharger whine that's pretty funny and fun. But as far as the roof rack goes, really well-built rack from Trail Racks, different style than what we typically do. But this ended up coming out really nice. It fits really well. It's custom tailored to the Alu-Cab, and it just will provide the owner some extra storage for storage boxes, potentially a Starlink, but really good option to have. I always recommend that with any camper. It's gonna improve that noise a lot. Working our way back, Alu-Cab's 270-degree awning. That is Alu-Cab's #1 selling product, and it's starting to get used by a lot of different van builders, trailer builders, because it is the best, most durable, and also most serviceable awning out there. I've talked in other videos about the quality of some of the other ones that are out there that are less money, or maybe even more reputable, just because they've just done more marketing, we'll call it, but nothing compares to Alu-Cab's shadow awning. The material on there is reflective, so it's gonna kind of help keep that heat away from you. It's a ton of coverage, and I think that's an item that I would look at if you're not gonna start with it right away, something that you'll definitely wanna add in the future. Back here we have the Alu-Cab Canopy Camper. So this is the previous model from Alu-Cab. It has now been replaced by the Mod Cap, but because we did the camper swap from that other truck, we stuck with the original one that was on there. You'll see tread plate styling. For the Gladiator specifically, or really any other midsize, you do have that front fit kit. The Gladiators is going to be specific. Now there's some companies out there that are making some modifications to it, this front area, so that you can store fuel. They're actually also working on an auxiliary fuel tank, which again, TBD on the fuel tank. And they've improved it. We've had concerns in the past of removing this piece, which is structural. It helps with that cab over and adds strength. But that's something I would say keep an eye on. We'll continue to keep an eye on it over here at the shop, and see if we can maybe start adding that to some future builds. But 813 Fabrications, that's stuff we can get for you guys. You guys can check out their website and see. He makes a lot of stuff. He's actually a Gladiator owner, but he makes a lot of interior stuff, and we'll jump into the back, which has some more of his products. GP Factor window. So this is a window that was added by us after the fact. We actually ended up swapping window sides for him this time. So we relocated that door from this side. Again, just I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is the ability to repair these units. Alu-Cab's really smart in how they think through kind of servicing stuff. So that door, let's say you got it popped open, you're working on it, maybe it's on that side, jump in the truck, and you pull out of the garage and you hit it on the wall. We actually can replace it for you. The whole entire camper isn't going to be destroyed, but we can pop a new door on for you. And while it's open, we'll show you guys screen kits. So another accessory from Alu-Cab that I think is great to have. You do have an additional layer of canvas here, which can add for some insulation. But screen kits are really nice for kind of extending the trip. You can get out in those seasons that do have bugs and mosquitoes, have a little place to hunker down if it's miserable out there. We'll cover the whole backside of this now. So right here, Expedition Essentials propane tank mount. Really good quality mount. We've used it in a lot of different builds. Again, it comes kind of down to personal preference. We can either do the GP Factor one, the Expedition Essentials one, or the Power Tank one. Behind that, you have Alu-Cab's rear molly plates. So that's a molly plate that you can add fuel to. You can do the propane tank, obviously, and we'll show you what we've got going on the other side over there. But below that, we've got the gravity feed, or the spigot for the gravity fed water tank. The water tank up front is located all the way forward between the axles, great position for weight distribution, but also it's baffled, really well built product. And it's as easy as getting water out, just twisting that, and there you go, little trickle of water. So very convenient. We can add a water pump to that if you did want. We could add a water heater to that as well. But this particular build, very basic, just gravity feed water tank. So up here, we've got another one of those Baja Designs lights. This is a Squadron Sport. We've got that with a work scene pattern so that it's gonna distribute light really well back here for either camp light, or it makes it good for a good dust light. With that lens removable, again, giving the customer that option. Not so worried about rock chips back here, but being able to put that amber lens on, help diffuse the pattern, change the color a little bit so it's not as harsh, bugs won't be drawn to it as much. Above that is the GP Factor pressure vent. Now, Alu-Cab with the Mod Cap has added that as a standard product. It's no longer a GP product. It's just a little secret they stole from GP. I shouldn't say stole, but adopted that GP was already doing. And we've got that on the camper. That doesn't help with closing the lid. The purpose of that is condensation. It's just gonna help reduce the condensation inside the camper that could potentially build up. To the right of that, we have the 813 Fabrications camera relocation bracket. Now, really cool. Again, that's, like I said, he owns The owner of 813 actually owns the Gladiator, and so this is stuff that he's built for himself that he's found useful. So we take the camera out of the tailgate and we can relocate it up there, and then we use a taser programmer to kind of trick the vehicle into allowing that to be used as a mirror, a rearview mirror. So on your dash, you're gonna have what's going on behind you through that camera whenever you turn your turn signals on. So as long as you're turning those turn signals on, you'll have rearview mirror capability so that when you're on the freeway, changing lanes, driving on the street, you'll be able to see vehicles behind you. Door mechanism is something that commonly comes up. So this is kind of a container style latch. You can operate it with one hand. It's safe so that you can't get locked inside. And then also it is lockable. As you can see, we've got the lock there. And then while we're here, tailgate. So the Canopy Camper or the new mod cap is going to remove the tailgate of the vehicle. That's something that's typically a little bit of a tough pill to swallow for some customers that haven't really like fully understood or get the value of being able to do that. So entry of the camper, you guys can see he's got a pretty cool little step here. It gets rid of that tailgate, which you're not climbing over anymore, which is really awkward and honestly one of the more obnoxious things of getting in and out of a truck bed camper. So having that door there, really, really nice for that. But also the biggest advantage in my opinion is the fact that it's all sealed. So at Tiny Rig, we're known for doing something called an advanced seal. When we built my truck years ago, I wanted it to be extremely dust proof. And what we did was the same sealant that gets used on the camper itself, which is called Sikaflex. We use 221 at the shop in most applications. We go ahead and we seal the entire truck bed with the Sikaflex or butyl combination of it. Sometimes we're using an automotive tape to plug certain holes, but gives you a very, very livable, clean space inside. So if you're looking or comparing it to other campers, what you're gonna find is that if you're gonna spend a lot of time in this and you don't want your stuff caked with dust, you're gonna have issues with your tailgate unless you go with something that's got the full replacement, like the Alu-Cab. Back door, there's a lot of options to be able to mount stuff to the back door. 813 makes some, Alu-Cab makes a tire carrier. We've mounted jerry can holders to it. You have a lot of structure through the middle of this, and you can add any accessories to it. Big, wide open space, particularly on the Jeep, you can't put a 40 on there. So he actually doesn't travel with a spare tire, but that is an option. And then over here, kind of fun novelty item is the Alu-Cab can crusher. So put your can in here, pull it down, and you end up with like a fun little toy at camp to reduce your waste or kind of compress it down a little bit. And then above that, we've got the GP Factor chimney. So this goes to a Dickinson fireplace. I'll jump into that. You will notice that this one is powder coated black to match the camper, and that was just a request from the owner of the vehicle. While I'm looking down, I'm noticing we also did add the Baja Designs S1s to the rear of this truck. So those are already in a permanent amber. The S1s have a ton of light output, and I like the way that those came out in there. Very minimalist look, and those will be nice again for things like backing up or just having kind of that 360 lighting. So I think that wraps up. Oh no, one more thing. This is actually something we've done for the first time. We'll see if we can get a photo of a side-by-side comparison, but again, 813 made this plate right here. So this is a fill plate, which is gonna cover kind of the open area below the camper and just kind of finish it and trim it out a little bit. That's bolted in with some M6 hardware, and then you've got some edge trim here, but we were just talking about it off camera. We thought it looks pretty dang good. Nice accessory to have, and again, that's kind of a perk of Jeremy at 813 owning one of these and kind of just trying to get it perfectly dialed in. So what I'm gonna do at this point, because I can tell this video could end up being really, really long, is I'm gonna point out some quick stuff that's unique on this build. If you want more info, obviously just call the shop. You can speak to either myself or Noah or Scott, but you know, there's a few items on this build that are very different than what our typical formula is. The owner just kind of likes to tinker a little bit, and so he's picked up some different stuff. So here's the Expedition Essentials. This is a table and stove mount. And so this gets mounted on here. Based on where this gets set, it'll kind of dictate how Goose Gear goes. So in this build, we actually have the drawer on the opposite side of where it usually goes. And so this is shifted all the way over for the install. But this is a pretty cool little setup where you can put a really high quality cook partner stove on here. I'm not a fan of this because it just occupies a lot of the interior space. But good option. You end up with a shelf up here. We'll put a picture on the screen for you guys so that you guys can see how that works. Above that, you guys will be able to see there is a 813 Fabrications deadbolt. And now this is an item that's... Unfortunately, in the middle of recording this, we lost some audio, and all of these videos are typically one take, so we didn't have a chance to check it. We were focused on filming, so apologies, guys. Hopefully the voiceovers that we've done help you guys out and get you the information that you're looking for. Sorry about that, guys. We lost the audio there. So the 813 Fabrications deadbolt is an option that we can do for you guys. On this truck, we tied it to the key fob or the standard door locks. We've talked about doing it on something like the Ram, where you've got a tailgate unlock button specifically on the key fob or in the vehicle itself. But for this truck, just the simple unlock works. It's nice and convenient. However, the only downside to it is that it's not going to lock these side doors for you. So in order to make sure that everything is secure, you're going to want to make sure that those doors are always locked. But having this might be nice if you want to just jump out real quick, not have to fiddle with that master lock. So over here on this side, we have the Expedition Essentials 4 MaxTrack mount. This gets mounted to the door itself through the structure of the door. It's a good location to keep things kind of low profile. It's a really, really high quality made mount. We don't do this super often. A lot of times we're doing the MaxTracks on the roof rack, on the small one that's up there. But in this case, we have it on the side door. It is keyed, so they are going to be secure. And then we also want to make sure that the gas struts for the door are rated. And the ones that we have, the customer brought us those parts, so they're actually not. And you can see here, when I start to operate the door a little bit, that it doesn't completely hold the weight perfectly, especially without the MaxTracks in there. So once those get added, that door is going to be too heavy for the existing gas struts. So if you order the mount from Expedition Essentials, I believe it does come with the correct pressured strut for the door. But the owner also has the molly plate on here too, which is going to add even more weight. So might be a bit of a challenge to find the perfect, I guess we'll call it the gas strut with the right pressure to be able to operate this door really nicely. Looking at the interior build out here from Goose Gear, we've got our Goose Gear base plate and pretty much our standard setup aside from the drawer being flipped on that driver's side. Goose Gear base plate is going to provide that nicer finish for inside, so it doesn't feel as much like a truck bed. It's super durable. We've transported leaf springs and other, I guess, equipment, we'll call it, in the back of the truck for years, and it's always held up really well. The utility cabinets that we're looking at right here, those are interconnected, so there's actually no separation between the two of them, so you can store really long items in there. And then that double drawer module, which we can put a graphic up on the screen and show you guys some different components of Goose Gear. But really nice add-on for the campers, provides a lot of comfort and storage. All right, guys, thank you again for watching. Basically over this clip, I was just explaining that I really like the way this one came out versus the last Gladiator the owner had. I spoke to him a little bit after we did this video, and he was mentioning that it came with all of those lights, and so he kind of just rocked it, but he was much happier with this as well. We have the ability to add a ton of lights, and I call it overland jewelry to these trucks. And if you look at my personal build and most of the builds that we do, there's a typical formula, which is, we add a lot of stuff, but we typically aren't super excessive with it. And I think seeing this versus that orange one that he had is a good example of that. We're building vehicles here for a lot of function, comfort, convenience, and I think we knocked it out of the park with this one. Just the simpler lighting alone made a massive difference, but also that new hood looks really good on it. So if you guys are looking for us to build a vehicle for you, we'd love to, and please reach out. We work on all different types of vehicles. We do a lot of campers in these videos, but if you're looking for us to just get your 4x4 equipped for day trips or weekend trips, we can definitely do that for you. Simple suspension upgrades, lighting upgrades. We're always going to do things with really high quality products, and our work is always going to be second to none. So appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps us, and hopefully we see you at the shop or on the trails. Take care.